a little bit, or you have to just take some of the CC around from the setup roles for Immortals, because what Immortals is doing is they're picking setup in 4 positions and then letting Pobelter do all the damage on Corki. So one of the two has to be taken away, or you just have to be able to shut down the Corki.
Well, we'll see what happens here. Aurelion Soul banned for IMT. Cho'Gath going to join the list on the blue side. And there's Caitlyn banned on the CLG side along with Zach. We'll see where Maokai falls into the order of things. Certainly not on Immortals to take it away.
Yeah.
Imagine CLG will ban it on red side, but we will have to see.
They could dare them to go for it. I mean, I've seen Immortals ban Cho'Gath and Maokai on blue side. They did it yesterday in their series just because they're not theoretically used to playing it, but it hasn't cost them yet, hasn't cost them any matches because they're comfortable saying what they aren't comfortable with and playing around that.
There's Elites, and there is a Maokai for CLG, so Immortals kind of picking up a ban there in some senses. As first pick Thresh over to Olleh. This is the champion that it's hard to say exactly where it fits into the priority list. Still a very good support, arguably still the best support.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's also a champion Olleh took to a 70% win rate to rank 1 on the solo queue ladder. It's his bread and butter.
Well, there's Kalista ban, picked up, sorry, for CLG, and OmarGod is going to get Gragas most likely. Taken as a flex, of course, but I think more often seen in the jungle.
Yeah, I think so. OmarGod could very well play that Gragas, but Immortals are going to be getting very similar things to what they had last game. They could easily pick the Jarvan here if they want to. They could also pick the Corki here if they want to and maintain a lot of that flexibility and similar style team compositions that have been working for them.
Yeah, but it feels like they kind of got it all already. Jarvan pretty safe. Either into the Gragas or as a blind pick, which is kind of what I expected to be here. I think big question for Immortals is, do they want to pick mid lane now and potentially run Pobelter into some counter matchups? Or do they want to flash Ivern randomly? Or take Jhin, which I think is what they're going to do.
Yeah, the Ivern flash.
And there's a Blitzcrank.
Woo, instant blitz. So that's the thing you want to combo with the Kalista. If it's not Thresh, it's the Blitzcrank. So CLG trying to go in with that bottom lane, but they're up against a formidable duo in the Thresh and the Jhin. Technically, both teams have solo lanes to show. If we are to think that Xmithie will go jungle Jarvan, he still can. If they don't throw jungle bans at him, though, he can still go any of the other junglers he's been fairly used to.
Yeah, I do keep forgetting that Xmithie is actually one of the players, apart from Moon, that's willing to play in the jungle. Of course, did it last game, so my brain, thank you for helping me out there. But there's LeBlanc ban from Immortals. Cassidy already taken away. Kind of an interesting target ban there from CLG, but looks like mid lane's currently being targeted by both sides. Yeah,
you can see the LeBlanc ban. I think that's in part response to the Cassidy ban. Cassidy ban also could be something to ban against Corki, because Cassidy's very good in the Corki. They're just going to do both of them. I thought maybe Huhi would try and control it, but when they're throwing this many bans at the mid lane, maybe Huhi's got that pocket pick Vel'Koz or something a little bit different. I do like the fact that they banned Corki.
I like it as well. I think, again, force Pobelter to play something else. They already have so much good setup that they showed from game 1, and there's a Gnar ban by Immortals.
Taliyah's still up, so I think that's the pick here for either mid laner. If you are CLG, you lock it in now and then wait until you know what your counter pick for the top lane would be. I think Syndra's also available, so when you see this many mid lane bans, you very rarely see Syndra still up.
There is Taliyah though, so we'll see if Immortals have a pick ready for it, or if Pobelter wants to maybe play it more of a farm lane. Still plenty of picks you can kind of take here. Not too many champions really punish Taliyah that hard. Syndra would be one of them if Pobelter wanted to take it here. I think Lucian's the other one that springs to mind. Otherwise, you mostly just kind of relegated to farming, although of course Taliyah's big issue is that she has so much priority, and Renekton picked to flame, and there's Galio back for Pobelter.
Wow, so I thought maybe they'd go Renekton Syndra and just put CC in every position and try and burst out whoever's in the front line. But now, I mean, they're at risk of having extremely low damage. You got Renekton, Galio, solo lanes, and then the lethality Jhin. But they're going to really rely heavily on their setup, and that's why we're seeing a Fiora here. How would they flex these around? We have seen... So if Taliyah wasn't such a mid lane champion, we have seen Huhi's Fiora in the mid lane.
They have, and they're going to at least, you know...
They're going to at least tease it right here, because we know the Fiora is good against the Galio. It's just, can you Taliyah against a Renekton? Probably not. And Fiora into Renekton is actually a really hard matchup for Darshan. They just want it for late game team fights since they're up against a wall of tanks.
Yep, makes sense there, but could be tough to get Darshan to that spot. Of course, once Fiora scales up, pretty unstoppable in 1v1s, but of course can help in the team fights as well. I think IMT putting a lot of focus on really just doubling down on all the CC and picks they got in game number 1. I think their team fight was a bit more robust, with Pobelter having so much damage coming out of the Corki. This time, it'll be much more about roaming and CC pressure, but if Immortals can snowball, this game will get rapidly out of control. Yeah,
that's the thing when you're picking these super tank or super tanky team compositions. It's actually more like 3 bruisers that Immortals has. The Jarvan Galio synergy means when you're ahead, you can just dive to however you want because they're trapped in the Cataclysm for the heroic entrance.
I do like it. Flame, of course, is back on Renekton, but they've got Renekton and Jarvan, 2 of Flame bigger picks there. Both on the top side, just in case they need to flex them around. Definitely interesting to see, again, all the teams have different priorities on the picks. I think CLG, again, showing us very much their style and preferences here in both the drafts we've seen in this series. But Jhin for Cody Sun. Jhin has not been everybody's champion, and it's definitely fallen down in a lot of games, but he's fairly confident in it, at least in this next game as well. See if he runs into issues versus Omar in particular as he get onto the rift for game number 2.
Yeah, Immortals looking to complete the season sweep over CLG. They beat them the first time they met. This would also give them sole control of first place as well as the tiebreaker over CLG. Would put them in amazing position with 2 weeks left in the split if they can close out this game.
Feels like it's been a little while, not too long, but a little while since Immortals was sitting atop the standings at the end of a split, but would be able to do it here, or at least get very close, taking a decisive victory here over CLG. CLG, of course, trying to make sure that doesn't happen, so we'll see what Omar can do as he's added to the roster here for this second game. Looks like right now Pobelter's just having a dance there in mid. And everyone's kind of spreading out, getting those wards going. Immortals, decent defensive vision, actually spotting Aphro poking towards the Raptor camp, and a little bit of a group here for IMT. Cody and Olleh going to move forward and maybe hope Stixxay parts a silly way.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this bottom lane plays out, just because Cody Sun and Olleh have been so consistently good. Pretty much halfway through the spring split, they started to turn it on, and then this split, they've just been in full form. And when you have Olleh on Thresh and Bard, I put as his top 2 champions. And then Cody Sun's Jhin last game was just so good at sniping squishy targets in team fights.
Does feel like in general they're almost surprisingly aggressive as a duo. I mean, definitely made good work of the defensive Soraka Triss lane. Is Aphro looking for a blind hook maybe? Does get a ward down, hooks on Olleh, and might force a flash, but he plays back and then flashes Huhi, trying to steal there. The Raptors grabs 2 of them as IMT are actually leashing.
Yeah, a pretty slick hook there by Aphromoo. Huhi getting the ward vision for Aphro to land the hook, and Olleh kind of forced to flash away. Immortal's still able to pull off the super leash, so to speak, but still walking past the ward that was placed earlier by CLG. Not sure what he's going to hope to get done with that.
Another ward from CLG as well, just to make doubly sure, as Flame and Darshan doing battle, but really, Darshan trading pretty nicely. Even, I suppose, at level 1, but getting very aggressive on the Fiora as Omar already going to take down that red, but another level 2 gank incoming. It's Huhi's Taliyah. Gonna have to flash again.
Still find some effectiveness with that level 2 gank. Xmithie again taking the aggression away from Huhi, and then that's a nice play by Huhi actually to stick around a little bit and get harassed on Xmithie, but not much more they can do other than that.
Yep, Xmithie actually just gonna take the blue, so doesn't lose that much, given that he passed around to 2 different lanes before moving into this side of the jungle. Again, bottom lane helping out with those leashes is gonna make that a lot easier. So we'll see where Xmithie goes next, or if he just kind of falls back to that same farming pattern we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, Jarvan arguably one of the best level 2/level 3 gankers in the game, so you can see why Xmithie's paths haven't been so hard farm. He really wants to get his ganks out early on before he goes to farming, as long as OmarGod isn't going to counter jungle him.
Great riposte there from Darshan. Going to save himself, in fact, maybe even turn it around. No help though, so 2v1 would be a little too miraculous at this stage of the game.
And we always have to come back to what is the cost of these early ganks. Because OmarGod hasn't ganked yet. He's still clearing the jungle. And if Xmithie is able to go and still get his full clear without Omar getting any ganks off, then sure, the ganks didn't work, but there's still good ganks in that situation because there's not much CLG did to counter it.
He didn't need to commit too much either, as Omar will take his blue and maybe bop down here to the bottom lane. Yep, he's going to move in. Good ward from IMT. He's going to spot him though. Aphromoo going to try and line up a hook, but Olleh defensive hook, I feel like, keeping him safe.
Yeah, so it's kind of the first gank attempt from OmarGod. not much he can do. He'll just continue closing out. Also pointing out the Doran's ring on Jhin once again. Definitely feels standard at this point. Jhin has an AP ratio on his dancing grenades. Also helps him spam spells in lane to get the wave shoving. Plus, I feel like Jhin is very much a caster type of AD carry. That's why you can go Avarice Blade on him early and get away with it. Also why I think Doran's ring can be a very good idea.
And we're actually going to get some counter jungling done here. Xmithie does reach back into this mid lane. Huhi already out though. Omar in danger of getting chased away, but they cannot see him right now. He's going to take the blast gun out to safety. And by safety, that's bottom lane. Maybe a dive being set up here, although he's going to hit the recall button right now.
Yeah, looking at the goal between the junglers, as we mentioned, Xmithie went for many more ganks. Only 100 up on OmarGod. So both these guys will be able to go back to base and buy a Bomby Cinder if they so choose.
Pobelter actually roaming right now. Cinder was the pick for Omar, but holding that thought as Darshan could be in a spot of bother. Flame gonna stun him already. Now I think Darshan knows too late. Pobelter here can riposte, but the taunt's gonna be their first blood on the rush. No! Oh. Darshan able to take down Flame for first blood.
That's the type of outplay you want to see on the Fiora. Riposting gives him just enough damage soak to get this done. Let's watch it. Flame goes for the stun early before the riposte, but that immediately takes turret aggro. And now Pobelter is trying to walk over, get the taunt into the auto. The vital proc was also pretty critical there, but he gets the slow onto him right there. The turret finishes off. Then he still is able to flash away before Pobelter can chain with the Q. Pobelter wanted his Justice Punch to hit first. I think he could have queued during the taunt to get the kill, but Darshan able to flash away.
Yeah, it might have just been a little too early, but regardless, Immortals messing up or not, Darshan with a bit of an outplay, able to grab first blood for himself in a very tricky situation. Does TP back to lane. Flame will actually walk back, so a little bit of a win there, but Darshan going to play catch up on CS, and that extra gold helps so much in a matchup where he's getting pressured. Yeah,
the Fiora-Renekton matchup, while we usually see it go to Renekton, is a very swingy one because they're kind of stat checking each other at a certain point. Talking about that TP advantage though.
Great grab from Aphromoo. Cody actually already getting the spears built in. Olleh going to try and hook him around, but Omar's here to turn this around. 3v2 It does feel very unfair. Olleh is going to get knocked up there. The root's not enough. It actually hits Omar. Olleh still running out of the way, but the Ren there from Stixxay able to grab the kill. Cody trying to turn something around here in a 1v3.
What?
Flashes in, gets body slammed, and dies instantly.
Cody Sun, what are you doing at the end of that one? Stixxay still had heal for the final play. Cody gives over the second part of the double kill as a lot went wrong there for Immortals. Pobelter canceled his teleport before the gank had completely been turned around. I'll have to double check he canceled under his own volition rather than Huhi interrupting it. Yeah, so here we go. Hook starts. Teleport comes in to save. Pobelter does cancel as he walks away, while Olleh still caught. Then he flashes while he's slowed, so Stixxay can fall through. He gets a little bit low as the bouncing grenade falls to him, and Cody Sun, bro, he's got heal. Easily picking up the double kill for Stixxay. Uncharacteristic mistake there. And oh, Pobelter didn't cancel it. It was the Huhi ultimate that picked it off. Yep. That's what made it look like he stepped back. Nice play there by Huhi and the whole COD team.
Slick move there. So he's able to cancel that out. And yeah, bit of a head scratcher there for Cody Sun. Didn't even have, like, it was reloaded. It was like, oh, maybe he's got a 4th shot. I'm like, nope, just reloading. Ready with shot number 1.
He already hit him with the 4th shot.
All right. Well, 2 kills for Stixxay on the bottom side. It's going to feel great. This is how I already built up. Rico was added in, and Flame going to try and get aggressive, but Darshan just able to back off, and barely 10 CS between them at this stage. Again, Darshan going to feel comfortable in the only real matchup where I think CLG are feeling a ton of pressure, because bot lane's now firmly in their favor, again, despite a small CS deficit in favor of Cody. And Xmithie's going to have another miracle dive as Pobelter roaming up for Darshan, taunts him up. Justice Punch is good. Proposes there to block some of that early damage, but pops the ulti. Now can't get out of the cataclysm. He already burnt the lunge. Flame able to take the kill.
Yeah, and even Cody Sun tried to get in there with a deadly flourish down the stretch. They've actually abandoned that lane with the roam mid, but the Darshan kill presented itself while Xmithie was still in the loop. A little greedy there by Darshan, trying to get a ward so he could play more aggressive in lane. Ends up dying before he even gets there.
Slick smite from Xmithie also, taking that big raptor away from Omar. Omar didn't have his smite, so tough to contest. CLG, I think, up 1,000 gold or so. We'll be happy with kind of the kills that have been gifted over, I'd say. Uma with a nice play in bot lane to get the first one, and I think Cody may have been dead still in that situation, but probably means you shouldn't lose your flash if you think you're going to die.
Definitely not. I think you could have backed away. But I want to point out the Ninja Tabi by Stixxay. I think this is the right buy. If you remember, the last time lethality builds were in, Ninja Tabi became a massive buy because they actually reduce the damage from a lethality user by 20 to 30%. And even if the auto attack damage passive went from 12% to 10%, you still get the same armor. Lethality is all about taking you as close to 0 as possible, and Ninja Tabi prevent that from happening. Really like it against Jhin, and I'm surprised more people haven't switched back to it since it was so recently that we had the last lethality.
Yep, you can see Stixxay and Aphro just feeling so much comfort now. Ninja Tabi certainly helping out there. Looks like that Drake will be a mountain, but teams aren't looking at it just yet. Still pretty even. CLG gold lead has kind of shrunk a little bit. Not quite the 1,000 that it was before, but they've got pressure in their lanes. Darshan losing pretty heavily in CS is maybe bad news there, but he knows he'll catch up eventually. See if CLG want to try and pressure this bot so that they're winning, or try and salvage some of Darshan's early lane. They are going to start the Drake briefly, but back up as Immortals, kind of showing they already have vision.
Yeah, and Flame really starting to take control of that top lane, just standing in front of the wave and maybe looking to do something here. That's why Huhi's trying to relieve the pressure in that top lane by cheating towards it as Taliyah.
Pobelter again can also leave, but TP not up for now. And both of these champions are pretty low global ranges on level 1 ultis, so gonna want to try and grab that XP. So, oh my god, back down to the bottom lane. His last visit was here. His next one will be as well. Huhi also going to interrupt Pobelter. Actually, also trying to cut off here, so maybe IMT tipped off to the play here in the bottom lane. But Omar flashed ulti after that body slam, real nice. But Cody takes the lantern out. Olleh flashed a bit late, but still enough to get Jhin out of the way.
Meanwhile, another fight's happening.
Oh, that Pobelter going to go down to Huhi. Cut off again as Aphro was also there. The wall not quite going to grab Aphro, but Huhi's actually going to go over and put the wall down as Omar going to get another flash as Xmithie forced to get out from under the body slam.
Yeah, strange play there as both junglers had to make a choice to take the fight in the bot lane or in the mid lane. Omar chooses bot lane. Xmithie actually chose the river, and they still lose that one. So now they're thinking about pressuring this. Technically, both top laners do have teleport and could join if a fight erupts.
Darshan actually in a better position because he has recalled, but you have to walk back to the lane. Olleh comes back in towards those rocks by Huhi, but looks like this seed is going to get shut down for a little while longer. Flash hook from Aphro does not connect on a Cody.
Oh, they tried. The only team I've seen do that in competitive was Aphromoo with double lift. Stixxay and Aphro missed the hook. The play there is you hook with Blitz as you ult with Kalista to pull him even further back, but they missed that one near highlight moment. And Huhi just destroys Pobelter. Flash for flash as well. And then Xmithie can't help out that much. 3 people in the brush.
Aphro killed him off, hooking is there. Olleh still going to get chased down. Hook gonna land. Great prediction on the jump. Olleh going to move back in, but I think he may be too far forward. TP from IMT coming in, but is it not enough? They actually do arrive in time. It's the double. There's the taunt in onto Aphro. That's the kill for Flame as Stixxay barely escaping that last Jhin shot.
Aphro not locked in on Blitz yet, missing a few crucial hooks. Also, Flame teleported away from his winning lane to make that play happen, so what more can they get? Because Darshan kind of gets back in the laning phase for that one.
Gonna need something here, looking for bot tower right now. Flame stays actually also, so probably gonna just be a trade here as Darshan continues to work that top lane. But Darshan actually kind of far ahead in the race.
Yeah.
Although it looks like 3 people, it's a little bit better than 1.
Absolutely, I think this means first charge for Immortals, as long as they stick to it.
See if it's close. Minion's still there, yeah, Darshan has to wait for his wave.
Darshan's not even gonna get it. Because Olleh did the early recall to get back up here.
Heads up play there from Olleh. Probably not in danger of getting drove. Huhi being here maybe changes that equation. Bot side though, Aphro landing up another hook. Xmithie getting out of the way. Cody with a nice juke to the right. Moves Blitz, not quite calibrated just yet.
Everyone sticks around. Olleh has no flash. Procs his Courage Shield, goes in, plays back instead of towards him. Tanks just enough damage for the rest of Immortals to pile in onto Aphromoo. And Olleh gets back in time to stop Darshan from killing the top turret.
And looks like Flame is back to this turret as well, so He's going to continue that 1v1 where he still has so much pressure. Got a couple kills recently after he picked the bottom side, so Black Cleave is actually done for him, kind of accelerating his position in the matchup. Also, a Dust Blade done for Cody, so this is kind of the dangerous time for CLG, it feels like.
It is. No Blade of the Ruin King on Stixxay, at danger of losing multiple turrets, still trying to make plays. Gotta land those hooks.
All right, that hook lands, but the lantern is there. Aphro's trying to step on it, but Pobelter's like, oh, can't actually click it. That feels bad. Pobelter not able to get out of that one. Huhi grabbing the kill. Heads up play from CLG.
Just trying to make as much stuff that he can click on. Bunch of wars, bunch of champions. You're not getting that lantern, man. Pobelter gets denied.
Well, is there like some sort of trick there? Probably not. It's like auto attack ally or something.
Yeah, sometimes you can zoom in if you want to click it because
That's new tech.
You can't actually put something on the exact same spot the lantern is. That's something you used to be able to do, but no longer. So if you try and ward the lantern, the ward will actually get bumped. But champions still have collision radiuses, so if you put your champions in the right spot, you can prevent him and block him from making it through.
Well, so CLG going to get the Drake after that pick, so nice little roam. Merits a couple of objectives and some additional gold off that kill. Olleh cancels Stixxay's back, but not for too much longer, and I imagine Blade of the Ruin King will now be finished. This Flame still working this top lane here versus Darshan, but Darshan's getting there. Oh, Flame's, he's grumpy. Thinking about a tower dive, but Wave not there.
Flame was born in this lane. It's his territory. Trying to push Darshan back.
CS lead not traditional here for Flame, but still looking good. Approaching 30 is Xmithie going to roam up as well. Well, dual lane is here for CLG though. In fact, they're going to make a full-on swap with Darshan moving to that bottom side.
Hoping that Immortals can swap back up in time to save the turret, knowing that that turret is pretty low. But they still got to worry a little bit about just having control of the map. Darshan is clearing a wave way back in CLG territory, which does lower CLG's map pressure and buys some tempo for Immortals in which they're going to take the Rift Arrow. I
think I love this play in general from Immortals, knowing how long these lanes are going to take. Flame sticks around for a little while longer. It does get his recall cancelled by Stixxay. He threw a spear into it, but tried the Rift Arrow there. Should be able to get it nice and comfortably. And Cody and Olleh were already mid lane, getting some pressure down there, kind of knowing they were already looking to transition off of that bottom lane. So Flame should make it down the bot relatively soon, and might even be a setup here in the top lane.
Yeah, notice Flame's Bramble Vest as well. This is an item that I specifically like into Fiora. And I like the fact they didn't rush it, because he's going to be able to bully Fiora with the Black Cleaver. And when Fiora is going to be coming back, it will be potentially from healing from the Vitals. The grievous wounds that are applied from the Bramble Vest cut Darshan's vital healing in half if Flame wants to duel him. Got to be careful about Taliyah, though. That's why he doesn't want to immediately fight Darshan there.
Ooh, fight on the top side, though. Olleh actually a little too far forward, perhaps, as Galio also is going to try and save him. Flash time from OmarGod, grabs a knock-up of Pobelter. That's going to knock up on the other end. Still gets hooked back in. 3-man top lined up is there as Cody. Still trying to dish out the damage. Needs to reload, though, as Xmithie up far too late for this one. CLG is still looking. Another hook maybe for Aphro as Huhi's roamed up here. Pobelter going to get trapped as the Justice Punch is blocked by Omar. Does fall down, but the jump from Xmithie going to try and get a counter kill. Do manage to grab it on the other end, but now Darshan's going to move into the scene. And Flame, he's going down. Cody not going to get that last little snipe. And CLG with a big team fight win.
Yeah, looks like Aphromoo starting to get locked in a little bit on the Blitz. A couple of crucial hooks, and Huhi roams up big time. Immortals overcommit at the end of that fight to secure the kill onto Stixxay, and kind of just like that, Immortals was in control of the game, but now CLG up 9 kills to 4 with the turret advantage.
Darshan, little too far forward, played back, riposte is good, stuns up on Olleh. Cody still chasing, does have his flash, but a little more conservative this time around.
Yeah, gonna watch this one more time. Waiting for the play. Stixxay shows early, gets Olleh to throw out the hook. Aphromoo just walks up to Olleh to get the knockup. This also means that when OmarGod finishes the kill, Aphro gets to pull Pobelter back, and that's what traps him in this fight. This then buys some time for Taliyah to make his way up, or Huhi rather. So he puts the ground down on Xmithie, makes him take a bunch of damage. And notice when Flame teleports in, he's only at half health because he's been fighting with Fiora that whole time. Flame then falls pretty quickly, so a 4 TP from Flame there, and 4 kills to 2 over to CLG in the extended fight.
Yep, took the turret there as well, so a huge windfall for CLG, who are now up actually 3,000 gold after that exchange, which is pretty massive, given that the game was even, if not slightly ahead there for Immortals. Huhi CS lead. Some of that here had a big impact in a lot of these side lane plays. 4-0 and 1 as Aphro another hook lands. Galio ultimate though, going to try and lock them all up. OmarGod could be the target, but Aphro going to double knock up after the Fates call. Stixxay a bit of render. Olleh, Pobelter with a big taunt again, but Xmithie going to try and trap them all in. Cody can't really fire into it though, and Stixxay is now happy to leap forward and take down the next few kills. Pobelter is going to die. Huhi cuts him off with the wall's flame. Able to get a pick up there onto Aphro. Cody still trying to snipe them, but Stixxay going to hop out of that area. Huhi walks around as well. I know IMT still cut off CLG. They're going to try and get those last few kills there. Huhi dominating, takes down Flame. Another 4 kills and 2 dead once again for CLG.
And we're really starting to see Immortals' low damage team composition work against them. Watching Huhi's positioning in that fight just showed how little he cares about Immortals' damage. Look at where Huhi is here. Yes, they have a numbers advantage, but he just walks straight up to everyone. He's in the middle of the team, spamming his threaded volleys. Sure, the taunt lands. Sure, the Cataclysm lands. Hui's fine. He flashes back. Stixxay is able to stack about 7,000 spears into Pobelter before taking him down. CLG in a lot of control right now with the Taliyah and Kalista doing work against these tanks.
And despite all the early lane pressure, feels like Jhin definitely showing some of those weaknesses here. Nice kick from Omar, kind of right at that, as Rift Tower has to be channeled. He's about to run out. And
we got a bunch of big health pools against Immortals. We got a Blade of the Ruin King and Leandry's Torment by CLG. They've already built their tank shredding items for that 6,000 gold lead. If CLG keeps this up, if they don't get caught by too many Wombo combo initiations, I think we'd be on our way to a game 3.
Well, Rift Tower is going to be a tragedy. It does get rendered down by Stixxay. More than enough CC for CLG as again, IMT just kind of had to burn that cooldown. Huhi going to force a TP and Flame out of the lane. Doing so much work on this Taliyah, just an immense amount of damage. Despite tanking a couple turret shots, Leandry's not helping there at all. IMT going to get a trade-ish on the top side there, taking the turret, but Aphro
all alone.
Pressured in, and now Pobelter 1v5. Not getting out of this one. OmarGod this time with the kill.
Aphromoo takes it to a few turret shots on the way out, but doesn't really care about it, as everyone on Immortals was off recalling.
We'll protect the bush, so Darshan makes it back safely. Turret did stay up for Immortals, though they got the outer, but Tier 2 was not taken in trade for CLG, so a small win there as IMT at least get gold back to themselves, but these turrets won't take too long for CLG to really get, especially as Darshan develops even more pressure now that Fiora is starting to scale. And unfortunately for IMT, Fiora is the least of their current problems.
Yeah, but it'll be on the short list of late game problems if it gets there, which is always the issue against Fiora here. But the fact that they haven't gotten a huge advantage for Flame early, but mainly it's the fact that Huhi has gotten so big on this Taliyah. Immortals could have drafted Syndra in place of that Galio for more standard team composition, but instead opted for this all-in strategy. What happens?
Well, Aphro looks for a hook is what happens. Pobelter, he's the target, but somehow not big enough of a hitbox to get grabbed there by Aphro. Just out of range, a good awareness there from Pobelter. But I spell Gauntlet on the way next for Galio, who's showing how tanky he isn't right now.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see a Frozen Heart off the Galio second, but that's also when you have a little bit more damage in your team. I mean, I'm so often seeing, even if you're going to do something like Galio J4, it's a J4 top lane and he's building Titanic Hydra and Black Cleaver. Or you have not Jhin as your AD carry for more sustained damage.
Well,
here we go though.
Right in, trying to make the play happen. Huhi is going to be the target. They need to try and shut down this Taliyah. Finally goes down. As Cody still firing shots away. Flame is going to die to Darshan. Is able to shred that through, but Stixxay so low. Darshan, they're going to save the back end of the fight. Cody leaping in the hook lands for Olleh, but Darshan, he actually got a triple kill in and amongst the mess. Omar, a great double stun as Darshan's going to try and shut the rest of it down. Olleh wants to kill Aphro's going to hook him up. Darshan needs a little bit more riposte in there. Does take it down. That's a unofficial Quadra. There's the ace for CLG. They'll take it no matter how it happens.
Yeah, unofficial Quadra, official ace for CLG. Even when Immortals seemingly get the damage on most of the threats, they one-shot Huhi, they take Stixxay super low. Fiora is still there, man.
Unlucky.
5-1-3 now on Darshan. Tough laning phase, but he has arrived.
Yep, and it's kind of the problem here. CLG And a defensive advantage in the early game. Pretty smooth mid-game and some insurance in Darshan. This was about as good as you could ask for IMT.
Yeah, I love the initiation from Pobelter, although, sorry, from Xmithie. I think Pobelter point-blank ulted just for the knockup. I don't know how necessary that was. But anyway, Stixxay then also is taken pretty low. Cody Sun going all the way into the back line. It's just Darshan they have to worry about. And they did a nice job getting some damage back onto Darshan here, nearly killing him there with the deadly flourish. Hook, though, from Aphro secures that final kill, and OmarGod having a quietly solid Gragas game here after being subbed in for Dardan.
Making all the right plays, hitting every single flash body slam at some pretty ridiculous angles at times, and quietly 3-1 and 13. 16 of 19 kill participations for the man. He is certainly quietly overachieving here in this one. As Pobelter grabs his blue buff, but IMT, it's about all their small victories at this point. 5,500 gold down, 3 items outdone for Huhi, last whisper finish for Stixxay, and Fiora's also starting to get a few more items. Yeah. I was worried enough with just those 2 carries, now there's a 3rd on the way. Yeah,
the more clumped up that Immortals can make the team fights, the better, and Cody Sun can actually do a lot with his lethality build because it's not like he's up against tanks. So he can still get a lot of damage out in team fights if he's able to stay safe. Going to be an uphill battle for sure. CLG has the tools to get the initiations as well. I mean, looking at the Talisman of Ascension onto Aphromoo plus the Boots of Mobility, it's a very fast Blitzcrank who probably doesn't even have to rely on hitting hook.
Nope, the most reliable hook is the one you hit after your E. Aphromoo's just going to be running at them. Hoping it's Righteous Glory too, but I think that's probably too much movement speed.
A little overkill. You do hit pretty sharp diminishing returns on move speed. But even now, he's just zooming.
I mean,
without his talisman. The talisman is to help others keep up.
Yeah.
And he's fine on his own.
Actually, one of those things where, I mean, I think the coin overall has become such a strong item, but we don't talk about the passive that often. In this instance, that's actually one of its better uses, because Aphro's going to be running in. Flame gets a stun there onto Darshan, a little early on the riposte, but lifesteal aplenty there for Darshan with his Ravenous Hydra, and Flame's just kind of like, I can keep you here, but I probably can't do much else than that.
Yeah, and if he does teleport in, Darshan won't be able to interrupt it, but he will be able to take him pretty low. Stixxay pretty low here. Off the Baron. Curtain call just to push him off.
He needs to lifesteal it up, but there's a wave to meet in mid lane as IMT rushing back down. Huhi down to the bottom side. A long wall here is Flame. Yeah. Gonna get caught up. No, actually makes it over. And now the TP's down, but Flame already dead to Huhi. Now the hero's gonna come out and Pobelter's like, oh, what do I do? 1v2 Omar. Gonna find Xmithie. Hook's gonna miss.
This is crucial though. Fight bottom side with Pobelter and Cody. He might clean up.
Cody actually roamed down there. Pobelter able to buy enough
He's got red buff.
Needs a few more autos. Does have one. Slows massive there as he speeds up from the wall. Flash in auto W. Beautiful play from Cody.
Cody does exactly what he needs to do right there. Gets the move speed and the first shot for the 99% Duskblade slow. Then also knows to flash forward so Darshan can't make it to the blast cone. Turning around COD's bottom lane play. And then also the rest of the team avoiding the initiation. Another little bit of avoidance. Now they go on to Omar.
Hook in the root, double play's gonna
Galio can ult in.
Aphro.
Gotta go fast.
Olleh needs to flash out of the way. There's the ultimate from Galio. Traps him with the Galio, goes with the double knocker, but Olleh falling down to Aphro. Taunt lands in. They need to kill Stixxay, but they don't quite have enough. So much they see, but Cody avoids the next knocker, but then gets that kill. Roots it onto Aphro. Cody again. It's gonna save the back end of the fight. Jhin grabbing the double. Xmithie barely living in the Baron pit. Stixxay escapes, but just barely.
Cody Sun and a bunch of setup is what Immortals team composition has come down to here. Flame stalling as much as possible. Darshan and Huhi used a lot of resources to take him down, and then they want to get Pobelter too, but Cody Sun is recalled, and that's what catches CLG off guard right there. Deadly Flourish stun, Pobelter gets him, Huhi goes down. Big bouncing grenade lands on Darshan right at the end. Chases him down, flash, Q. Deadly Flourish for the kill, and then they continue the play, which is the impressive part. Olleh baits around Baron, and Cody runs all the way back up to then use the Galio ult that they were unable to use before. Kind of pulling themselves back in this game, which felt lost.
Yeah.
Against a Fiora, Taliyah, Kalista that are all fed versus your team of tanks, but Cody Sun doing a lot to pull this back.
And I mean, CLG still up 4,000 gold, and I don't know how large the windows will be back into this game for IMT, kind of giving some of that scaling. Hook from Aphro is not going to help.
Oh,
cancels the EQ. No, he actually Q's out of the way. Gets the E down before he can, but Huhi still going to chase that. Locket going to proc. IMT enough protection to save their jungler.
Yeah, how is he still alive? He is not. He just takes a bunch of damage there. You can see the very tanky J4 build coming through. Getting a bunch of shield from his W, since it does scale with max health right now, but another Baron setup play by CLG.
Xmithie lances up, actually knock him onto Omar as the TP in from Flame. Knock back there, Huhi on the side, but he needs to avoid some of the CC. Stixxay and Aphromoo are too low, so can't actually join this fight. Omar smites to try and buy some time, but the hook from Olleh is going to seal up. Flame able to take that kill.
And now you wonder if Immortals wants to force this fight. They know Stixxay and Aphromoo are low. Darshan has TP. Darshan's probably going to have to teleport in.
Picked one out. It's actually Flame that Aphromoo hooks, but he flash ulties back into the pit. They're still tanking it, but Huhi doing a lot of damage as Pobelter trying to reduce some of that. Xmithie, he's the one that tries to initiate, and that means the Baron threat is off the table. Darshan flashing forward, looking for Flame to post in. Knock back there is a great shot from Huhi's, maybe going to end the rest of the fight. IMT just get ripped to shreds as Pobelter the only one left, but he will die in very quick succession.
Picture-perfect riposte by Darshan in that fight, throwing the stun back at Immortals. In the past, Darshan has been criticized for teleporting in at the wrong moments on Fiora. That was absolutely the right one, because they could win the fight. Immortals had overextended themselves. They clean up the fight, and they get the Baron.
Kalista able to help that secure. Huhi with a great wall to start it off, and IMT desperate to get into this pit.
Yeah, but they walled really early because the Baron was still at 9,000 health, and the first fight was actually pretty bad by CLG. Omar takes all the damage, and the team has to bail out. Look at Aphromoo and Stixxay's health bars. So this is why Immortals thinks they can turn it around, because they have 5 people at Baron. But we talked about low damage. They do not kill Baron quickly at all. Aphromoo hooks over, Flame runs ultimate, and then Darshan puts his teleport up. Huge seismic shove by Huhi, and then just watch Darshan in this fight. It's very tricky to enter a fight when they have all the CC, but he dashes in, ripostes as the knockup comes from Stixxay and Aphromoo, so they chained those stuns together. That then opens him up the small window he needs to proc enough vitals and clean up the end of that fight.
CLG now with Baron and a monumental gold lead. 8,000. Olleh gonna hook Aphro, but Aphro's gonna hook back in return, doesn't grab Cody. That was the target he was looking for, but CLG playing with a lot of pace as they move back down here to the bottom side.
Yeah, hoping to pull off the epic Kalista Blitz combo. 0 for 2, but
one day.
Give them points for trying.
Certainly do.
This is the trouble, though, for Immortals. We know they have such low damage. We know they need big setup 5v5 team fights. Darshan's got Baron minions in one wave. CLG has the rest of the Baron minions in the other wave. And they have Taliyah to collapse.
Death Dance as well for Darshan, so close to impossible to kill Fiora in any good amount of time for Flame. And turret's already starting to fall. CLG take the bottom tier 2. And Huhi is working on that mid turret as we speak. Flame, I mean, she's trying to clear waves and kind of keep Darshan off the turret, but sooner rather than later, Flame's going to lose it, and IMT going to have to come up with a play before CLG just take everything with this Baron buff. That's 2 more turrets down. All of a sudden, 6 turrets to 2 Immortals. Backs right against their turrets as they try and defend.
Yeah, they had that small window coming back into the game, but you wonder if they have been outscaled now by the 3 damage item Fiora in one lane, the 7 kill Kalista in the other, and the 7 kill Taliyah in mid. Everywhere they look, there are enemies.
Huhi and Stixxay actually have the exact scoreline right now, which is pretty rare. 7, 2, and 11. But certainly looking good. That's going to be a hook, landing onto Pobelter, who taunts it up, but just buying some time for the rest of the siege. Wall cuts 2 people off from IMT. It's their dual lane that's currently being shot out. And again, IMT trying to find some angles, but don't forget Darshan is still here in the top lane.
Waiting for the minions. CLG going to want to finish off this turret right here. Will Immortals fight? Here we go.
Xmithie gets in onto Huhi. Galio ultimate's up pretty good. Gets the knockup, grabs it. Huhi almost about to go down, but the turret's falling in the top side. Aphro getting low as IMT continue to fight, but they just don't have enough. Cody gets out to try and snipe Stixxay with these ultimates, but he's going to hop away. The last bullet is going to connect, but still too much protection as Omar barely going to live. Rends down Pobelter as Stixxay grabs that kill. He gets the shutdown as well onto Jhin as Omar going to grab that. That's 4 kills for nothing in Flame. He had to do with Fiora and just couldn't do it.
Stixxay just gets to keep stacking up Rens. The longer the fight goes, the more damage Kalista can rend you for. That's probably the game.
Looks like it, as the Nexus starts are going to be objective coming up. There's one already done. Darshan got a lot of work done in the top side just by himself, but CLG will open up the Nexus and force a third and final game.
Yeah, Immortals died 30 times that game. That's what it took to take down their Nexus, and it was a tough one, actually, because Immortals was scrappy. And even though CLG jumped out to that massive early lead, there were some questionable moments where it looked like Immortals might come back into it. In the end, though, an extremely low damage team composition by Immortals. They could never get in to take down enough of the CLG threats, and even if they could catch Taliyah, they couldn't deal with Kalista. And in a difficult matchup, Fiora into Renekton, Darshan did make it work. Very clutch TPs to pick up enough kills to become a huge force.
I think just a smart drive from CLG and kind of played well despite all of the pressure that Immortals were able to offer. I mean, again, still exploring so much on this patch, but the arms race of carries versus tanks continues. It's something we've seen a lot in the history of League of Legends and very evident in a game like this.
Yeah, and it could have swung the other way, right? If the tanks get ahead, then the carries feel useless and they keep getting those initiations and the game is just over. But credit to CLG for not buying into all the tank hype and matching them tank versus tank. Said, okay, Leandry's Torment exists, Fiora exists, Blade of the Rune King exists, we can handle this, man. And they did, so bring on game 3 for a battle for first. It's just what we wanted.
I think more than handle it, but for a deeper dive on how CLG tied the series, let's hand it off to Dash and Mark.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. CLG striking back in game 2 to extend us to a third game in this series, but bottom line is that game was just crazy fun to watch.
Yeah, that was a junkyard fight where it was just back and forth over and over, constant team fights, and it felt like at any moment either team could really take that game and run away with it.
As well, I really love champion select on both sides of the coin here. I thought it was really fun to watch the, heavy tank comp here on the side of Immortals, but then I thought CLG made some really intelligent adjustments here coming into game 2 in order to come away with the victory.
Right, I really like what I saw overall. First, CLG, after Aphromoo got forced onto Soraka last game through a lot of support bans, this time around he grabs the Blitzcrank early. Immortals kind of reacts and takes a very, very tanky team comp. You basically have one person in this entire comp that you want to hook in, and he's usually out of range. So overall, really smart out of them. And then, like Jatt was saying, I like the idea to say, well, we don't need to match you tank for tank, even though they do already have a good front line in the Blitzcrank and the Gragas. Instead, they take the Fiora to give themselves a couple other win conditions, because if the Fiora goes off, you can split push. And even in team fights, if they all in your backline and they're able to kite out, enough to kill 1 or 2 people as they go down, well, then Fiora can play cleanup duty.
Right, it's funny. We talked throughout the entire day about the power of tank comps, right? Triple tanks, and then Immortals goes one step further. They go, how about quadra tank? And then again, as you mentioned, the Fiora, though, coming up huge for CLG as an insurance policy against those tanks, saying, fine, you want to go tank, we're going to take one of the few champions that's a fantastic tank buster and can spread the map out.
Right, and Immortals tanks, to be fair, are 2 of them are more bruisers. And
correct.
The benefit of that is when you pick the tanks, sometimes they have relatively weak early games. Not that you can't make plays with them, but that they don't win the matchups for the most part. And in this case, they are able to use these bruisers to hopefully generate their leads so that way they can use them from ahead and just keep diving in.
Right, and that's not necessarily what happens, because 17 minutes into the game, CLG is the one that comes out on top of a skirmish in the top lane, 4 for 2. Let's take a look at this one.
This is off the back of the fact that Immortals had already kind of lost the early game. Fiora got going off a failed dive, as well as Cody Sun kind of lost his mind and flashed in one time. And then here's a top lane fight where they try and get something going, but they react very well on the side of CLG. That said, Immortals does land a nice taunt. They're trying to kite this one out, but people are coming in a little bit too slow, because when you have this monster tank comp, you kind of want everyone to fly in at once and blow a target up. Here, Xmithie shows up late, the teleport's coming in late, and even though they try and turn this back, CLG is, for the most part, able to kite this out, and they end up getting a 4 for 2 at the end of all of this.
Yeah, uncharacteristically poor game for Cody Sun, as you mentioned. The early, kind of blunder in the bot lane to hand over some advantages, then even in some late game fights, maybe overreaching in places where he didn't need to. Looking for the hero play, probably could have played it more reserved in some cases. Who's to say? Exactly. I want to push us ahead to another team fight, 23 minutes into the game. This one around the Dragon, CLG picking up another ace.
Yep, and once again, this is a situation where it almost worked out really well for Immortals. You see, this is the time that they managed to get the jump on everyone. A huge mistake out of Flame there. Accidentally channeled his teleport in the middle, kind of fat-fingered his teleport when he went for the flash, and there just happened to be a ward right there that ends up getting channeled onto. He goes down, doesn't really get as much out as he wants, but they do finish off the Taliyah. Barely kill Stixxay. It felt like if they were a little bit further ahead, this game was a little bit closer. This is a fight that they smashed, but because so many little things went wrong, they have to blow so many resources to finish off Stixxay. Now they're cutting out, and then Olleh gets too aggressive here. Instead of kiting back and maybe trying to help out Cody Sun and slowly working their way up to the top of the map and keep kiting out, he did walk forward looking for a hook.
That's why I like this fight, though, because as you mentioned, it shows where Immortals comp can be successful if a couple things go slightly differently, maybe if the gold lead's a little bit closer, because Stixxay that close to going down. But it then required a flash, hook, lantern from Olleh to get Cody Sun in for the final kill. But now we're on the wrong side of the fight, and the two of us are trying to kite away from a Fiora. And so, again, the resources spent to get the kill meant they didn't have enough resources left to win the fight. But again, Stixxay goes down a little bit sooner, and Immortals turns the tide there.
Right, same situation with Huhi. If Huhi dies just a little bit faster, if Flane's flash does not get interrupted by his teleport, and he just, you know, empowered WQs Huhi and kills him, it's a very, very different situation.
Yeah, little tiny execution mistakes can cost you the game. Next up, 29-30 into the game, another ace for CLG around the Baron. Another example of a situation where Immortals actually plays the beginning of the fight very well, perhaps overreaches once they see that they're winning.
Yeah, able to use some like tricky movement there where Xmithie goes over the wall, gets lanterned back out as Pobelter goes onto Xmithie's old position to end up over the wall. Just some tricky movement all around. They eventually end up in a situation where OmarGod is the one who ends up getting hooked out there. Now, Darshan hasn't teleported in yet. He's still pushing down bottom, so we got a force on the Baron. This leads to an Aphromoo hook as Darshan actually teleports in. Maybe a small overextension because they do stay on the Baron after the hook off. They could have started kiting out a little bit before. They end up not choosing to kite out right away, and now they're getting chased down. And this is still a very close fight, but Darshan has the perfect riposte here to avoid a ton of AoE CC, and then still barely gets through the front line to get onto Cody Sun. If he was a little bit further back, maybe they finish off Darshan. That's the power of the Fiora once it's rolling, is that it can blow tanks up, and there you see playing a really good job on cleanup duty.
Yep, so hey, Cody Sun's damage still pretty high considering, again, that we called this an off game for him, but it's not enough to surpass the damage coming from all three of the carries of CLG. When you just put the sheer numbers against each other, it's no surprise then that CLG comes out on top.
Yeah, the other thing, of course, is how much more health there probably is on
That's true. They gotta eat through a heck
Yeah, you want to win a
health.
team fight, you got to do about 10k damage, whereas that might not be the case for Immortals. All that said, though, Darshan, player of the game, was huge, and especially in that first dive that came in. He played that beautifully to get the kill onto Renekton and stay alive. Stops the Renekton from maybe snowballing, because this is a totally different game if Fiora is playing from behind.
Well, and this is now the thing. You have to consider Fiora as you go into the next pick ban phase, right? Again, we talk all day about the power of tanks. We're encouraging teams to start jumping onto that tank train. Well, if you're looking across the rift and you're seeing CLG, you now have to be concerned with over-indexing on the tanks and opening up a Fiora pick for somebody like Darshan.
It's just something you have to take into consideration on a patch where there's already a ton to think about, because as we said, a lot of people are still struggling to figure out the exact meta, and one of the things that we were saying was nice about CLG is it felt like they had a decent grasp on it, and here you see already having a little bit of a trick prepared if you want to go really hard on tanks.
CLG find the win, and they're going to keep OmarGod in as a result. With everything all tied up, the battle for first place comes down to a Game 3. You won't want to miss the conclusion of this series, so don't go anywhere.